Hey, welcome back to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. I am your host, Heather Tesco. I've been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009, making my show almost 15 years old. Today, we are going to be talking about Helena Snakenborg, who was a lady-in-waiting to Elizabeth I. She actually came over with the Swedish Princess Cecilia Vasa, who I did a whole podcast episode on several weeks ago. So I will link to that in the show notes for you to listen fully. She's a fascinating woman who became, part of the inner circle for Elizabeth I. So let's get right into it. In the annals of Elizabethan England, few figures captivate the imagination like Helena Snakenborg, Marquess of Northampton. Born in Sweden in the mid-16th century, Helena's life reads like a tapestry woven with threads of intrigue, romance, and political savvy. This video, we're going to talk about the remarkable journey of Helena from her early life in Sweden to becoming a prominent figure at the court of Elizabeth I. As lady-in-waiting to one of history's most iconic monarchs, Helena not only witnessed but also played a major role in the grandeur and machinations of the Elizabethan era. Her story is a fascinating exploration of cross-cultural interactions, personal ambition, and the intricate social dynamics of the English royal court. Helena's story begins in the province of Ostrogothia, Sweden, where she was born as Elin Ulfsdotter into the noble Bat and Lily of Ökne families. So I probably just butchered that. Apologies to my Swedish listeners. Her early life in Sweden was marked by a privileged upbringing grounded in the traditions and politics of Swedish nobility. Her father was a supporter of King Gustav I of Sweden, and he ensured that his daughter was well educated and prepared for life befitting her status. The turning point in Helena's life came with her involvement in the retinue of Princess Cecilia Vasa of Sweden. In the autumn of 1564, Helena, along with 5 other Swedish noblewomen, embarked on an arduous journey to England. This voyage was actually intended to strengthen diplomatic ties, and possibly Cecilia was going to kind of speak on behalf of her brother, who was courting Elizabeth I, so kind of going back and forth on the idea of a royal marriage between Elizabeth I and Cecilia's half-brother, King Eric of Sweden. And this journey was fraught with challenges. The hostility between Denmark, Norway, and Sweden forced them to take a lengthy and perilous land route through Finland, Livonia, Poland, and Germany. Upon their arrival in Dover in September 1565, Helena and her retinue were greeted by the English nobility, including the influential Sir William Parr, Marquess of Northampton. This marked Helena's first foray into English society, a world vastly different than her native Sweden. Her transition from a Swedish noblewoman to a figure of significance in the English court began here, laying the foundation for her future as a respected lady-in-waiting to Queen Elizabeth and a marchioness. Helena would have been spending this time that Cecilia was visiting as part of the retinue, and the primary objective did not actually materialize. You can listen to my episode on Cecilia for all the details about that visit. But it was successful in terms of diplomacy and cultural exchange. There were a lot of festivities, there were a lot of receptions, illustrating the cordial relations between England and Sweden. Cecilia decided to return to Sweden in 1566. She had run up a lot of debts. It was time to go home. But Helena was still intrigued by life at the English court, and she was drawn to the opportunities that it presented, and she chose to stay behind. Her decision was influenced by her growing attachment to England and the prospects of a more advantageous position at court. Her charm and intelligence soon caught the attention of Elizabeth I, leading to her appointment as a lady-in-waiting. This not only elevated Helena's status, but also placed her in close proximity to the Queen, allowing her to establish herself as a significant figure in the Elizabethan court. She was a gentlewoman who was responsible for overseeing many of the private aspects of the Queen's life, which required utmost trust and loyalty. Her relationship with Elizabeth was one of mutual respect, and some accounts suggest a lot of personal fondness. Her loyalty and service to the Queen did not go unnoticed. She was often entrusted with significant responsibilities and privileges. Besides her interactions with the Queen, Helena also established connections with other prominent figures at court, navigating the complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized the Elizabethan era. The most significant turn in her life at the Elizabethan court came with her courtship and eventual marriage to William Parr, Marquess of Northampton. He was, of course, also Catherine Parr's brother. He was impressed by Helena's charm and intellect, pursued her ardently. However, their path to matrimony was not without obstacles. Parr was previously married and then divorced, and he faced the challenge of the Church of England's stance on remarriage, which did not permit a subsequent marriage when the previous spouse was still alive. She did marry William Parr in May of 1571, and that was a milestone that elevated her status significantly. The ceremony was actually held in the presence of Elizabeth I. It was a testament to the Queen's approval and Helena's esteemed position at court. As the Marchioness of Northampton, Helena enjoyed a life of luxury and influence. She divided her time between the couple's residences in Guildford and Surrey and Stansted Hall in Essex, participating actively in the social and political life of the nobility. Tragically, their marriage was incredibly short-lived. William Parr passed away in October of 1571, after only 5 months, leaving Helena a widow. Despite the brief duration of their marriage, she gained a substantial dower and maintained the title of Marchioness for the rest of her life. She was thrust into widowhood and faced not only the personal grief of losing her husband, but also the challenge of maintaining her status and influence at court. And then, 5 years later, around 1576, her life took another dramatic turn with a secret marriage, which is never a good thing when it comes to Elizabeth, the First Lady-in-Waiting's, to a Thomas Gorges. He was a courtier and groom of the chamber, and a distant relative of Elizabeth, being a second cousin of Anne Boleyn. This clandestine union initially led to a scandal at court, resulting in Helena's temporary exclusion and Gorges's brief imprisonment. Their marriage was seen as a breach of court protocol, especially given Helena's elevated status as a marchioness, and it challenged the social norms and expectations of Elizabethan England. Despite these initial setbacks, Helena's marriage to Gorges proved to be both fruitful and significant. They had 8 children, and their family life was marked by both affection and ambition. It seems like it was a love match, so yay for them. They resided at their London townhouse at Whitefriars and later at Longford Castle in Wiltshire. The reconstruction of Longford Castle, which had been damaged by fire before Gorges had acquired it, became a symbol of their status and their wealth. Completed under the supervision of the architect John Thorpe, the castle was a testament to their restored favor and success. There is actually a letter that still survives that was written by Helena to Thomas Radcliffe, the Earl of Sussex. And it's written during the fallout of the secret marriage to Thomas Gorges, and it's a fascinating artifact that demonstrates her mastery of Elizabethan letter-writing conventions and her strategic thinking. In her letter, she eloquently articulated her plight, combining emotional appeal with a well-structured argument. She skillfully employed the rhetoric of supplication, a common practice in seeking favor or redress in Elizabethan court politics. The letter's tone was one of humility and deference, yet it cleverly underscored her plight and the injustice of the situation. This balance between emotion and decorum highlights Helena's understanding of the nuanced dynamics of courtly communication and influence. And remember, she was Swedish. She'd been living in England for a decade and a little bit at this point. So, pretty amazing. I lived for 7 years in a foreign country, and I never got to the point where I would have been able to do something like that. So it just goes to show how adaptable she was and how strategic she could think. The content of the letter reflected her immediate need to regain Queen Elizabeth's favor following her secret marriage, and it appealed to Sussex's sense of duty and honor, urging him to intercede on her behalf. Remarkably, her strategic appeal was successful. She was eventually reinstated at court, a clear indication that her persuasive skills and the respect she commanded among the nobility were working. It not only underscored her resilience, but also her astute understanding of the politics and social etiquettes of her adopted country. The life of Helena Snakenborg, Marchioness of Northampton, is a remarkable tale of resilience, adaptability, and astuteness in the face of the complexities of Elizabethan England. From her beginnings as a young Swedish noblewoman to becoming a pivotal figure in the court of Elizabeth I, her journey is emblematic of the era's intricate social and political landscape. Her marriage to Thomas Gorges, though initially scandalous, ultimately exemplified her ability to navigate and influence the highest circles of English society. So there you go, a little intro to Helena Snakenborg. I'm thinking that I will do a whole episode, a really more in-depth episode about her at some point. If you think that would be interesting, leave me a comment and let me know, and I will work that into the schedule. Cool. Well, thank you so much for listening, my friends. If you made it to the end of this video and are still here, I sure hope I earned your subscription to my channel, where I put out content like this on the regular. And a press of that like button, it helps to feed the algorithm and help reach more listeners. So thank you so very much. All right, my friends, I will talk to you soon. I hope you're having a great week so far, and thanks for being here. Remember to drink your water, super important. All right, thanks you guys, bye.